Okay, we all know by now that getting a deal on a new car is darn near impossible. Car dealerships don't have too much inventory on their lots, and the ones they do, many times, are marked up over sticker. How can you get around this? How can you get a car and find out which models might be discounted? Well, here's a trick that you can probably use for almost any brand of car that you're looking for. We're going to use as an example a Chrysler Pacifica, which is a minivan, and we're going to use the Chrysler search tool to help us point towards vehicles that might be able to get a deal. So we selected a model which is a Chrysler Pacifica all-wheel drive. That's what this AWD means. And we put in a zip code. This one happens to be north of Dallas. We put in a range of 250 miles. Anytime you're going to the factory website to search for inventory, select the largest range of miles that they will allow you to select. Okay, in this case, 250 is the most you can go. And at first, select on dealer lot. You can see this section here. It'll have a little box for what's in inventory right now. You notice there's also options for in transit or being built. Let's leave those off for now. So if you notice, there's only one exact match. That's because in this search, a color was put in, and there's only one of that color in that model. But there are 57 near matches, and these might be a little different. Like for this one, we put in the limited model, and it shows you a Pinnacle model, Touring model, Pinnacle model. So it's going to show you all the ones in stock. Now, if you notice, most of them are Pinnacle and Touring. Pinnacle, Pinnacle, Touring, 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 Touring. And you can load more results here if you want to. But if you notice, there's not a whole lot of limited. Most of them are Pinnacle, which is the high line, and Touring, which is the low line. Look at the price difference, $58,000 to $42,000. So first get a lay of the land. What's out there for cars right now? Because if there's a lot of a certain model, like for in this case Pinnacle, the higher line model, then maybe that's one that dealers will discount. And you'll find if you click on the particular cars, you'll find some dealers may have some of these at a discount. But now select in transit and get rid of on dealer's lot. Well, in transit, now you're starting to see some limited, right? Here's a limited. You also see what else is incoming. Looks like there's a lot more Touring and Pinnacle incoming. So what that means is that the dealers see this. They know what's coming into inventory. And they know what's in the pipeline. It looks like there's a lot of Touring and a lot of Pinnacle, meaning that limited model is going to be less of a inventory that's going to come from allocation. There's only one. And on the original on dealer lot, there was also only one. So that tells you right there that this limited model is probably not going to be discounted. There was a very serious backlog of vehicle manufacturing for the last year and a half or 2 years because of pandemic and then chips and then a bunch of other things. Now that the factories are starting to crank up, you'll see more inventory arriving. Being ahead of the curve on knowing what the dealers are going to see on their lot will give you an insight into the future. If you don't need a car right this second, you'll know what's coming so that you can tell, is it worth waiting because in a month or month and a half, they'll be flooded with these cars. Or, in this case, if you're looking for a limited, you'll know in a month or month and a half, there's not going to be any more of those either. There's only going to be the other models. And you can play around with this with any of the details you want. The most important thing is to get an idea of what the dealer is going to see in the future, because that could be a negotiating point. Look, the days of taking $5,000 off a new car are long gone. However, there's many dealers that have posted discounts on certain cars on their lot already because they're trying to move them. Let's take it a step further. Let's take a look at the being built selection. You see this box for being built. What's being built? Same thing. They're building Pinnacles, right? And Touring. They're building the high end and the low end. In the middle, not so much, right? So by looking at the pipeline, you can get a sense for what might be coming available in the future. Even if you don't buy one of these particular cars, you know now what the dealers are going to have to be faced with. Are they going to have too many of one model, not enough of another model? If, in this case, the middle model's missing, that's where there's going to be demand. So if you can accept a lower model because you don't need all the options, you might be in the driver's seat. If you're willing to buy a higher model because you can afford it, maybe you can get more of a discount and the price will be closer to the limited. And that's a good example. How much are we talking about as a difference? Here's a limited and a Pinnacle. The limited is 56,057. The Pinnacle is 58,435. What if this dealer with the Pinnacle will discount at $1,500? Well, now you're at, let's say, 57 grand compared to 56 for a limited. You're within $1,000. You get your car right away and get an upgraded model. So by kind of doing maybe arbitrage on some of these models and what's incoming, you can get a sense for what the dealer is looking at, so you're not dealing from a position of weakness. You're not flying blind. You know as much as a dealer does about the pipeline of inventory. And this can help you have valid conversations. Worst case scenario, you don't get a markup over sticker. Best case scenario, you can find some discounts. I went through many of these Pacificas. I'm not going to bore you with it right now. And there are plenty of them. If you click on the ad, let's take a look at this one. On Dealer Lot. This one is in Plano, Texas. Let's just see what they say. Well, it's not coming up directly on their ad. But many of these vehicles are discounted. When you click on the actual ad, it will show you a discounted price. This one shows you some rebates you can get. But either way, you can use this knowledge and intelligence to help navigate the very difficult car buying landscape that exists right now because of pandemic and chips and all the other problems that created this shortage.